Hello, Namaste, this is Aparna Bhatt and welcome to my YouTube channel Abhijna Legal Maps. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic relating to Negotiable Instrument Acts, and the provision is section 118. Section 118 relates to the presumption as to the negotiable instruments. So, what is a negotiable instrument? So, wherever there is a negotiability, transferability is there, then we can say that an instrument is negotiable, and NI Act recognizes three kinds of negotiable instruments, that is, one is a promissory note, another is the bill of exchange, and the third one is check. So, we have three kinds of negotiable instruments. So, when these negotiable instruments are there to facilitate commerce and economy, Negotiable Instrument Act has introduced some kind of presumptions. So, whenever there is a presumption, a person need not prove that fact. So, presumptions can be said basically as a rule of evidence, because we know Indian Evidence Act says that a burden of proof rests on plaintiff. It shifts to the defendant whenever if he wants to say something, if he wants to prove a particular fact which the court has to believe. So, right from section 101 to 114A we have different types of presumptions. So, likewise, it also says that Indian Evidence Act, it says what is burden of proof and how the burden of proof shifts on the other person. So, in the same manner, the presumptions have so much of importance where if a presumption is there in favor of a plaintiff or a presumption is there in favor of a defendant, then he need not prove that fact till it is rebutted by some other person, by the other party. Suppose if I say I have entered into a contract and that is for consideration, then according to the general rules of evidence, I have to prove that there is a consideration, I had given a consideration, I had paid the consideration. So, the burden of proof rests on me. But whenever there is a presumption in favor of me and the presumption says that the contract is made for consideration, then I need not prove that consideration at all. The presumption is in favor of me that the contract was made for consideration, and the burden of disproving the consideration shifts to the defendant. When he proves that consideration was not taken, consideration was not there, then I have to prove that consideration was given. Otherwise, prima facie or initially I should not prove regarding the whatever presumption says about. In this case, it was about consideration. So, I need not prove the consideration at all in the first place. But when it is rebutted by the other party, then I have to prove. So, the burden of proof shifts on the other person. So, that is the importance of the presumption. So, section 118 of Negotiable Instrument Act, it says, it gives 7 kinds of presumptions with respect to Negotiable Instruments Act. So, it is not 1, not 2, but totally there are 7 presumptions only in section 118, and also in section 139 we have another presumption with respect to check. Okay, only for check there is a special presumption, but in the case of section 118, 7 presumptions are applicable to all kinds of negotiable instruments, that is, it could be promissory note, it could be bill of exchange, or it could be a check. Okay, so let us understand one by one what are the different presumptions and what are they saying, like what is the presumption all about. So, let us begin with the first one. The first presumption is that it says that negotiable instrument, every negotiable instrument, if it is drawn, accepted, or it is endorsed, or it is transferred or negotiated, so whatever it is done, whatever transaction is done, if a negotiable instrument is there, it means that it was made for consideration only, it was made for acceptance, it was accepted for consideration, it was negotiated for consideration. So, the presumption is that every negotiable instrument was made for consideration, and you need not prove consideration because of that. I mean to say, you need not prove consideration in the first place, but it is a rebuttable presumption. All presumptions are rebuttable. If the other side gives cogent evidence, then you may have to prove these kind of presumptions to rebut that whatever evidence they have given. Okay. So, in the first place, the presumption is that every negotiable instrument was executed or was made or was drawn or it was accepted or it was endorsed or it was transferred or it was negotiated for a consideration. Okay? That is the first kind of presumption. And the second presumption is that you can see that every negotiable instrument will be bearing a particular date. The date will be there. So, whichever date it is there. So, every negotiable instrument which is bearing a date, it was made on a particular date. Okay? So, if the negotiable instrument, if it bears the date, today's date, that is 2/2/24, then it means that this was made on this date only. It could be executed before only or it could be executed later also. But whatever date it shows, whatever date it bears, that is considered to be the date of the negotiable instrument. That is the second presumption. And the third presumption is that this is applicable only in case of bill of exchange. Okay? You can see that this is applicable only in the case of bill of exchange. So, what does it say? See, every bill of exchange, it needs to be accepted. So, the date of acceptance is presumed that it is made after its date. Acceptance is made after its date, but it is accepted before its maturity. Bill of exchange is accepted. See, bill of exchange is drawn. First of all, it is drawn. That is the first step. Later, it has to be accepted by someone else. So, that second stage of acceptance, with respect to that, here is the presumption. So, the presumption is that the bill of exchange was accepted after the date and before its maturity. Okay? This is the third presumption we can say. And the fourth presumption is that the fourth presumption is as to the time of transfer. So, negotiable instrument will be negotiated, it will be transferred. So, whatever it is, whenever it could have been transferred, the presumption is that it is transferred before its maturity time, before its maturity period. This would be the presumption. So, not after the maturity. In actual condition, it could have been transferred after maturity only, but that has to be proved by the other side. The prima facie presumption says that every transfer of negotiable instrument was made before its maturity date. Okay? And the next one, fifth one. Fifth presumption is that, see, we find endorsement. So, just by endorsing, you can negotiate or you can transfer the negotiable instrument to some other person. Okay? When that is the case, if on the back side of the negotiable instrument or a separate slip attached to the negotiable instrument, we can find the endorsement. So, first person he would have signed like this, then the second one he would have signed next, then third one he would have endorsed. So, there is an order, right? The first, second, third and fourth. So, there is an order which you can find in the endorsement. So, even if it was made, the first person would have signed, then second person would have signed somewhere at the end of the instrument, then third person he would have signed here and the fourth person would have signed here. So, here the order changes actually. Okay. This could be anything, but the presumption is that the endorsement is made as per the order in which they appear. It means they presume that first person was this, second person was this, third person was this and the fourth person was this. So, this is actually not so in the case, right. So, if it is not so, then they have to prove that this is not the order. The endorsement was done in a different manner. This is not the order which is seen. But as per 118, the presumption is that in whichever order of endorsement they appear, in the same order the endorsement was made. According to the same chronological order, the endorsement was made. This would be the presumption. Okay. And then comes the next sixth presumption. What does the sixth presumption says? It speaks regarding the stamp. See, most of the negotiable instruments, unless they are exempted, they need to be stamped. Okay? So, stamped can be seen if there is a stamp, just by on its appearance we can find it out whether it is stamped or not. But when a negotiable instrument is lost, suppose there is a lost promissory note, lost bill of exchange or lost check, then what will happen? Then they presume that whatever, because we cannot verify it, right. So, the presumption is that such lost negotiable instrument was duly stamped, it was all properly stamped. That is the presumption with respect to a lost. So, this is essential. Here the condition is this presumption would be available only in the case of lost promissory note, bill of exchange or check, not in the case of available. In the case of available promissory note, it is just prima facie visible, but such negotiable instrument acts which are not available or which are lost, in their cases the presumption would be they are duly stamped. And the last one, when it comes to the presumption, this is a very important kind of presumption which we can say. This is in the case of a holder. So, holder is a person who possesses the negotiable instrument, who is having the right to possess the negotiable instrument act, negotiable instrument. And there is a difference between holder in due course. Okay. So, every holder need not have obtained the negotiable instrument in a proper manner. It could have been stolen or it could have been forged, different reasons could be there. But holder in due course is someone who has obtained the negotiable instrument in good faith and it was for a consideration. This is the necessary condition which is necessary for a person to be called as a holder in due course. So, holder in due course gets a special privilege that he gets a better title irrespective of any defective title. Even if he would have obtained the lost negotiable instrument act, negotiable instrument, or some forged negotiable instrument might have come into his hands, but he did not know about that, he took it for a consideration, then he will be getting a better title. Even his previous holder, even if he did not get a better title, but holder in due course will be getting a better title. So, that is the status of a holder in due course. So, the presumption is that prima facie every holder is presumed to be a holder in due course itself. It is the other party who has to show that no, he is not a holder in due course. He has his title is defective, he has to show that. Okay. So, that is the presumption with respect to holder, but there is one exception here. If other party, if it is shown that lawful owner, this holder has obtained this negotiable instrument through offence by way of fraud or by paying unlawful consideration, then the burden of proof shifts on the holder to show that it was not done so, that he is a holder in due course. So, he has to prove that. Okay. So, here we find the exception here. In all the previous cases there was no exception as such, but in the last kind of presumption we see that there is an exception here. The holder, whoever is there, he is presumed to be holder in due course except if negotiable instrument was obtained by offence, fraud or unlawful consideration. Only in such cases this is not considered to be, he has to prove that. Okay. So, these are all kinds of 7 negotiable instrument which we can see. So, let us revise once again because these are all very important in the examination point of view. Please remember each and every, make it by heart, remember every presumption. Okay. This is section 118A, 118A, 118B, 118C, 118D, 118E, 118F and 118G. So, right from 118A to 118G. So, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, totally there are 7 presumptions. Okay. So, 7 presumptions we can find it in section 118, and also Negotiable Instrument Act 139 we have different provisions, different presumptions. It's not only limited to 7 presumptions, but in 118 we find 7 presumptions. So, if we have to revise, the first presumption is with respect to consideration. It means that every negotiable instrument was executed for a consideration. Second presumption is that whatever date negotiable instrument is bearing, it is deemed to have been executed on that date only. And with respect to bill of exchange is the third presumption. So, every accepted bill of exchange was accepted within a reasonable time after its date and before its maturity. And the fourth presumption is with respect to time of transfer. So, presumption is that every transfer of negotiable instrument was made before its maturity. And the fifth presumption is that whatever endorsements are appearing, it is presumed to be made in the order which they appear. And the sixth presumption is that every lost negotiable instrument is presumed to be duly stamped. And the last presumption is with respect to holder. All the holders are presumed to be holder in due course unless the burden of proof shifts where the holder has obtained it from a lawful owner by way of offence, fraud or unlawful consideration. Okay? So, these are all regarding our 7 kinds of presumptions. So, please remember them, remember each and every provision number, subclause and their title, because this is the most favorable question in the examination, be it multiple choice question. Also in civil judgment writing also you need it very like you may have to discuss this if you get a question regarding suit for recovery of money. In such cases you may have to discuss this, okay, because the burden of proof, the presumption, so many things are involved here. It will helpful in understanding on whom does the burden of proof lie. Okay. So, this was all about our 6-day challenge. So, the logic behind explaining section 118 is, so there was a 48-day challenge in a WhatsApp group. So, it was a challenge of reading provisions. So, we have a separate YouTube channel, that is Abhijna Law Series, which is dedicated to Karnataka students, and the explanations are in Kannada. So, similarly we have a WhatsApp group where every day we would give one section to read, and in continuation of such challenge, such sections have been explained here. So far we have completed 5 lectures and this is the 6th day, and in the future also we will be conducting all the lectures related to such classes, such provisions. So, if you are interested, even you can join that WhatsApp group which is Target Judiciary. So, if you do not know that WhatsApp group, you can text to the WhatsApp number which is appearing in this scroll here. You can find it, that is 9036201870. You can find the question and sections there, and you can also find the YouTube links also. You can also join the WhatsApp channel which has been given in the description of this YouTube channel, this is a YouTube Abhijna Legal Maps is a very recently launched YouTube channel, but especially the focus is on targeting all South Indian students, especially who want in English lectures of mine. Okay, for them the new YouTube channel has been recently launched, and also a new technique is being introduced of simplifying laws concepts. So, simplifying, visualize and legalize. This is the motto of our YouTube channel. So, if you like this video, do not forget to subscribe this YouTube channel and also press bell icon for receiving regular notification, and also share it among your friends. Share it among your friends who are aspiring for judiciary examinations or any law related competitive exams. This is also helpful for law students as well. Okay? Yes. So, this was all about our lecture today, and do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. So, thank you for watching, and also keep watching. See you in my next video. Namaste.